They would think, okay, my son or my daughter has graduated and became an engineer. You will be perfect if you do this and this and that. If you become this, if you become that. But if you're not going to fit into that criteria, then they will be thinking that there's something wrong with you. You suddenly do not feel worthy enough as an individual. Suddenly you wouldn't take criticism lightly. You would not take rejection lightly. You would feel like you're not good enough. You would feel like every judgment comes to you, you would really literally take it in. Growing up into a household with an unstable support foundation, love, and and also the ability to understand that you're an individual, you would think that this is normal, this is how I am, and I feel good if I would validate it through someone else who can. Now, there are a lot of people who would find their self worth through someone, through other relationships. So, growing up to a very highly critical household, you're so used with the negativity, with the negative comments that you're so used with, you're just not good enough to them. You're so used with the criticism. You're so, like, it almost becomes like it's a part of you. It can make a person have a huge self doubt in everything they do just because they grew up in a very judgmental family member. They're not sure, they're not confident enough in their decision that they make. Their fear will come into play knowing that they might be judged by other people. It's because one of their family member is being judgmental over them and thinking that they're not doing good. So there is a author and psychotherapist, Dr. Harriet Lerner, explains that family are dysfunctional because family are anxious system. There is always something that sends emotional shockwaves through a family that moves through life cycle. So it's like let's say for example, it runs in a family where we are just very abusive. Okay, let's just say physical abuse or violence is so normal in our family member. May start to realize it all comes down to your grandfather, to your great grandfather, mother, and then it passed down to generation. It may be due to a history of abuse from their own childhood too. For example, one of the parents is too controlling. There are two things that can happen to you. Either you become too submissive, have very low self-esteem in yourself. You literally doubt yourself in everything you do. That's one way. The other thing that can happen is you become controlling yourself too. Why? Is because they are controlling over you. You had enough, then you want to control them back. Even if you're not going to control them back, but then in the outer world, you would want to control other people. So it's like a never-ending cycle. Most of the time, you have to acknowledge it. You have to acknowledge the signs that your family member has given to you. You have to know that this is toxic. You have to know the signs. Because some of us, we really do not know. All what we want to do is we want to revenge them. We want to sit down and blame the pity party. Like one of your sibling would be like, I blame this, I blame that. Or you yourself, you would be like, I blame this person. I blame my mom for doing this. I blame my dad for doing this. I blame my uncle. I blame my aunt. I blame my sister. I blame my brother. So what happens? It's just constantly blaming. The reason why that you need to acknowledge that this is toxic, because that will set your mentality that you should do something for yourself. This is what I would be doing. Once I noticed that it was a toxic relationship, family member, it is okay to distance yourself from them. Now, I know everybody, especially in the Asian culture, everybody would be saying, no, you know what? It's very impossible to distance yourself from your family member. Family values is set high in most Asian cultures. Here's the thing. I'm not saying to abandon. What I actually meant was there are certain things, there are certain topics, certain situations that you have to distance yourself. Sometimes you gotta have to put priority in yourself. Know when to say no into something. This is what I actually learned. I learned it the hard way. It is okay to distance yourself to a toxic family member. Now I know that it's gonna be difficult. They will keep on following you. They will be that nosy in some point. You are not obligated to serve them. I would normally be civil. I would normally be respectful. I would just act exactly who I am. But when it comes to certain topics that I know that would tick them off, or something that they would have a chance to control me and tell me what I should be doing or whom I should be with or what my life should be like. When that topic hits, that's the time I should completely ignore, completely walk away. Of course, have a discussion with your family member. Don't act like that. It is important to sit down and have a conversation. Most of the time, you will never have a healthy conversation with a toxic person. Never. So, but at least you tried. I did try it like that. I did try to sit down and have a normal conversation. The thing is, I know this wouldn't work. I know it will set them off. I know they wouldn't understand. But the thing is, I put myself to that position. It's because I want to set boundaries and I want to make it clear with them. This is not okay. This is not something that I would want. And I would want to know, but what did I do that would make them tick off that way? What did I do? What can I do to help and contribute into this relationship so that everything will be fine? I just want to sit down and talk to them and make sure everything is just equal. And then we would just have to come into a common ground and then decide it that way. Just so that we can have a healthy respect between me and that person or people in the family household. If once you are aware of it, you gotta have a better communication with them first. Second, just set a certain amount of distance. And no, you are not a bad person. No, it does not make you feel the worst daughter or the worst son or the worst nephew or niece. Self-respect and self-love is, you gotta know that this is so important. I mean, a family is someone who should love you unconditional. A family is someone who should support you as an individual. A family is the one who picks you up when you make mistakes, when you were down. Not the one who would belittle you, who would criticize you, would basically blame you instead of helping you. I mean, it's common in the Asian culture that they would compare you to another person. I wouldn't blame that. I mean, that is, I think, cultural thing, but it's not okay most of the time. But of course, that is not okay because that makes us feel like we always had to compare ourselves. We would not feel like we are special enough. We will not feel like we are unique. We would not feel like we're confident enough. We always have to feel like, okay, this person is doing this, I'm doing that. So there is always a sense of competition, unhealthy one. There is a healthy competition, there is an unhealthy competition. And there will always be a sense of jealous judgments to other people. Like there are a lot of people who would look at the other one and would say, oh, she thinks she's better than me. Oh, I will be doing this better than me. It's because we're used with being compared. It's because we are being taught that someone out there is much better than you. Although this could be true. I'm not saying that you should be better than everybody. I'm just saying it's true that someone out there could be better than you. But what's more better is nobody can be you. A lot of people in this generation these days are really lost. They do not know what they can do. I'm not saying that I know what I can. But here's the thing that I tell myself most of the time. I know what I should be treated and what not to be treated. Regardless if we are blooded or not. If I do not allow negativity or nonsense drama in my life. Now that I would want to think more of the positive side about the life. So the more you think about the positive things, the more you will see that. The more it comes to you, the more it attracts. It sounds so cliche. Our world that we are in is actually based on how we view on things. We can be under the same roof. We can be on the same bus. But if you are looking in the other side of the window and this one looks in the other side of the window, we both have different experience. Even though we're under the same house or we're under the same bus, we're riding in the same bus. So what I would do is basically distance myself into something that does not serve me well or is not good for me. Here's the thing I'm going to be advising you guys. It's like you are the only one who is in control of your own life. You are the one who's going to carry these experiences. You only have one book to write down, and it's up to you to live the life that you would want it to live in. If you are going to be constantly blaming, judging, or comparing yourself to other people, just because of your experiences that you had in your childhood or in your household, that should not define you. What should define you is how you overcome those things that you're experiencing. Most of the time, I would be distancing myself into, let's say, even though it's my closest family member, I would respect them, I would love them, I would still consider them valuable to me. But if it's just that toxic, man, you gotta have to distance yourself from them. This is not called being selfish. This is called self-respect. You understand what I mean? If they cannot, I'm not saying that they do not respect you. I'm just saying that most of the time, toxic people do not know what they're doing. They do not know what they're doing to you was toxic. So what I did, it might be very scary. I moved places away. And of course, when you demand respect from somebody, you should be respectful for yourself too. You know, you can't be demanding some things to others to love you, to respect you, to compromise with you, to do this to you, to love you. If you do not do that to yourself, what we said about the world, it's a law of attraction. If you see that in yourself, you're going to attract the same thing. What goes around comes around. Of course, you gotta have to forgive. I mean, it sounds very hard to do that. Once it happens, and it's not easy to forgive. But here's one thing that is so say: if you're going to be forgiving and you not learn any lessons, then you would literally blame yourself for everything or blame everybody around you if you're not going to learn the mistake. So what I always do, every mistakes like that happens in my life, most of the time I would have to sit down and think, why is this happening, and what am I going to do to prevent that from happening in the future? It's the reason why communication is important in the first place. First of all, you have to create a communication with them. Try to have a healthy communication. No fighting, no shouting, no none of this, no belittling, no insulting. Just a normal, healthy conversation to acknowledge them that that is actually hurting you. This is actually not doing well for you. What you want for yourself is this is what you want, and you want them basically to respect that choice. And at the same time, ask them what you can do for them, so it doesn't look like that it's all about me, me, me. In that way, it's like a give and take conversation, and then you have to have a common ground and get to it. They do not want to compromise. What's the use of me fighting and arguing? Because we have already talked about it. And the other thing, always know your self-worth and your values. Always know what you deserve. Think of the things that makes you a better person. For example, your values are loyalty, love, respect. Acceptance is important too. Somebody who just have to accept you, and you have to accept them. Like I said, everything that you want in yourself, you should be also reflecting that part of your character, because nobody's gonna come to you and provide you some sense of loyalty when you do not vibrate that in yourself. People come to people sometimes, or get connected to somebody. It's based on your vibe. It's just based on who you are. You can get attracted physically to people, but it all comes down with the personality at the end of the day. What keeps a person is actually who you really are. If you set that type of standards in yourself, if you set that self-worth to yourself, it's not about being so arrogant. There is a difference between knowing what you really want and then you're stepping on other people and thinking you're better than them. That's not what I mean. What I meant was you knowing what you are, you knowing your self-worth, you knowing that you have a lot of things to offer, you knowing that people will believe it. People will think you have something to offer. People would really respect you because you respect yourself. People would really love you because you love yourself and you have a lot of love to give too. I know someone who is really a great person but keeps attracting lost people. Just lost. People who are broken. The reason why is sometimes you would attract toxic people, it really depends on you. Here's the thing. She keeps attracting people who are depressed or toxic or full of dramas, full of negativity, and she doesn't even know why. She herself may not be that negative, but it's that she just kept attracting it. Why am I attracting abusive people? Why am I attracting this and that? You could be the light. Everybody has purpose in their life. It is too much to explain. I don't know how to say that in just short words. I don't know if you would actually understand what I mean, but it's just too general and too deep to understand. But everybody basically have a purpose in their life, okay? If people feel gravitated towards you, she actually has a gift that lost souls. People. I'm gonna say soul. Let's just not go there. Let's just say people who are depressed, toxic, or something, or just gravitated towards her. But she's not toxic herself. Why is that? There is something about her aura. There is something about her vibes that she vibrates that higher level that people who are seeking that is coming to her, towards her. If that makes sense to you, if you know what I mean. If you're that person too, is to set boundaries. Set boundaries. Know when is not okay and when is okay. So basically, it is okay to attract these type of people as long as you know how to set boundaries. What is not okay if they have ruined your peace of mind. Peace of mind is the most expensive and the most valuable thing that you can have. You shouldn't let anybody destroy your peace of mind. Nothing is so much valuable than a person who has a peace of mind. In this chaotic world, there is a lot of destructions. There's a lot of chaos. Whether in your family, your friends, or people around you, there's a lot of chaos going on into this world. Peace of mind is very rare. The fact that you will allow someone to have that, to destroy your peace of mind, that is the most valuable thing that you would allow someone to take that away from you. A family and a person who loves you truly is going to love you unconditionally. There is no conditions. It is just you that they respect, that they love, even though they have nothing, that you have nothing to offer to them in return. This is love. What is not love is when you serve them something and they would only love you for that. There is condition. They're very specific why that they should love you. So you should know the difference about that. There's not a lot of people who would have a lot of love to give because they themselves are broken. They themselves need love. Therefore, you keep seeking it and seeking, and you do not even know love is you. Love is yourself. Have you ever noticed when you do kindness, when you're being kind to someone, when you're being compassionate with someone, what do you get in return? Kindness and compassion back to you. And if you don't get that in return, it doesn't matter. What really matters is this is who you are as a character. She always asks me why they don't do the same thing to me when I do that to them. Why didn't all I did was being nice and being real with them, and why they do that to me? Should I answer them back? Should I do this for them? Should I do that to them? What I said to her, I said, no. You don't have to do anything in back in return. You're not obliged, you're not obligated to give them an answer when they are not willing to listen. You're not obligated. You do not have to take revenge. You do not have to copy their character. What I told her you just have to stop it right there. If they were not going to listen, it doesn't matter. They're not that important to you. You are not important to them for you to put them importance, for you to put priority in what they say and think about you. Heck, they don't even think you're an important person. So why would you take anything they said or do to you important? Just leave it. Don't answer them and don't take into consideration and don't even try to make an effort for them to understand you or to know your self-worth. This is not how self-worth is. So I told her, do not revenge them, do not answer back, because that will only reflect your character, that you are just the same as that person. So most of the times when I'm dealing with conflicts with relationships or anybody, my family, friends, or anybody, sometimes they would think of it as weak because I don't fight back. It really depends. I choose my battles wisely. I just make sure that battle that I'm fighting for is really worth it or not. Most of the time in day-to-day life is really not important. It's not really worth my fight. It's not really worth my peace of mind. As long as I am respectful towards you, as long as I am civil with you, as long as I show respect to you, you don't have to lower yourself down just so you can match with them and for them to really be able to understand you. It's not worth the fight. And I told her, don't ever lose out of character. This does not define you. It doesn't matter what people think of you. What matters is really what you think of yourself. And once you think of yourself in a positive light, that's what it all matters. You walk your walk, you walk your path. Just because of the childhood experiences that you have in your life does not define who you are. What really defines who you are is what you do about it. One time she asked me, okay, so how do I know if a person is being real with me? For me, personally, I would say you would know a person's character when you're going through shits. Not only when you're going through shit, when they're going through shit. How do they deal with their problem defines everything from a person. So when you are dealing with problems, or when you are facing an obstacle, when you're facing an emotional breakdown, or an emotional outburst. How you solve your issue is how I'm going to see you as. How you deal with people on that heated moment, that is how I'm going to judge you as. This is how I know when a person is compatible or not compatible. If that person is always going through a perfect lifestyle, has no anger, no nothing at all, I'm not saying that there is a problem with that. Of course not. It's really good when somebody's always going through a positive light, always happy. They're not going to be talking about their problems. So this is how they are. Maybe they're just private, maybe they're just secretive. What matters is how you deal with the problem. It's just the same when you're at work. You get promoted better if you know how to deal with the problem. People pay people who knows how to solve problems. So it's kind of like the same thing when it comes to relationship with people. So basically when it comes to toxic family members, actually it's not a bad thing because it really challenges you how to deal with obstacles outside the household. You would learn it the hard way anyways. But really at the end of the day, it really comes down to how you deal with it. I always say that to myself. If I can't solve the problem, I won't brood about it. It gives so much stress when you cannot solve an issue and you can't handle the problem. Yeah, to the people who are experiencing dysfunctional family member or toxic, I feel you. I know how it feels like. I know that it's the most difficult thing that you can go through to your life. People that you care and trust and that you feel that will protect you the most is actually the ones who don't. It can cause serious trust issues, serious depression, serious low self-esteem. It can cause a lot of things. All I gotta say about those is have stability. It's easy to say that, but all I can say is just really get to know your values. And your values should be, you love yourself. That's one thing. Love yourself in a way that you will not harm others. Love yourself in a way you wouldn't see worse than others. Love yourself in a way that is not selfish. It's more on love yourself knowing that you are worthy of the good things in life. You create your own reality. It is just you who create your own reality. Stop blaming others for the unfortunate things that happens to you. Why stop blaming others for the life that you have now. So yeah, it's a very long topic. I hope you guys enjoy this video. Please subscribe to my channels and like this video if you really like the topic, so that maybe one day I can talk about it also for part 2, and hit the notification bell so that you could be updated with more videos, interesting videos to come in the future. This is also going to be part of the podcast. I have my podcast over here. You can see the description down below. Please take care, you guys, and